Well, Senate Democrats are attempting to rebrand their failed For the People voting reform bill as the Freedom to Vote Act, but some are calling it the Freedom to Cheat Act. If passed, the bill would eliminate election integrity, remove common sense state voter ID laws, which 36 states have passed, get rid of more secure voter ID requirements, and force states to adopt automatic voter registrations and same-day voter registrations. But the bill will allow felons to vote in federal elections as soon as they are out of prison. Joining us now to break this all down is Heritage Foundation legal fellow Hans von Spakovsky. Hans, welcome back to the show.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Hans, so as far as I recall, the For the People Act, they tried to put forward, it failed, and this seems like just a rebranded package deal where they're just saying it's like a compromise. So is this any different from the original bill?
Well, the original bill was 900 pages. This one is over 600 pages. What they did is they took the worst parts of the original bill and put them into this new bill. So it's just as reckless, just as dangerous as the original bill. And, well, maybe it's a compromise between the far, far left and the far left, but that's about as far as the compromise goes.
So tell me a provision that right now, if you're a viewer out there saying, OK, so what's the big deal about this bill? What's the one thing that you say everyone should be worried about in the bill? I'm sure there's a million, but pick one.
It basically voids out state voter ID laws. And so no state will be able to ask for an ID, get a voter to authenticate their identity when they show up at a polling place to vote. And that is a real potential problem, especially when you combine it with requiring same-day voter registration. In other words, they're going to require states to allow people to register and vote on Election Day. Combine that with no ID, and you could clearly see what that could result in.
Absolutely. So this new bill also it would have taxpayers would provide up to 600% match for political donations of under $200. This seems unbelievable. But what implications would this have if it does pass?
It's basically a federal takeover of the administration of elections, which have been run by the states since our founding. It puts in all of these federal mandates like automatic voter registration, which is filled with all kinds of problems, and it voids out all kinds of very basic security measures and security protocols that states have put in. It would be hard to trust the integrity of any future elections if this bill became law.
Doesn't the Constitution make it very clear that that the states have the right to set the time and place and manner of the elections?
Well, look, there are parts of this bill that are clearly unconstitutional because they violate the Constitution. There are other parts that, remember, that particular provision, time, place, and manner, it does say Congress can override the states when it comes to congressional elections. So there are parts of this bill that they might be constitutional, but they're really bad. On the other hand, Leo Lindsay mentioned the restoring the votes, the ability of felons to vote the moment they're out of prison. That is clearly unconstitutional because the 14th Amendment gives that ability to the states. States have 100% authority to determine if a felon loses their right to vote and when they get it back. So that part of the bill would clearly be found to violate the Constitution if it passed and it then went to court.
Right.
You know, we keep seeing the media hold up failed Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams as a champion of voting rights. Now, she has done some impressive things in her state of Georgia, but she was recently on CNN, and these are the questions she was asked. Listen.
Why do you think this time will be different and this will succeed?
I would reject the notion that we've seen failure. What we've seen is movement. We keep having to have these fights. But luckily for me, luckily for millions of Americans, when we continue to fight, we win.
They keep talking about fighting, but they're fighting for something that people don't even want. Polls show that people want voter ID.
Yeah, she's just completely and totally wrong about this. As you say, the polling shows Americans overwhelmingly support this. And in fact, minority voters, particularly African Americans, enthusiastically support voter ID. I can tell you why that is because the voter ID, the voter fraud cases that I have seen, researched, and written about, many of them actually target African American neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, because the fraudsters think they can take advantage of individuals in those neighborhoods. And that's one of the reasons I think African Americans think, yeah, voter ID, we want that.
Hans, always appreciate your insights. Appreciate you breaking this down, because the Democrats do a great job of making this sound like it's a good thing for the American people. But as we're seeing, this isn't what the American people want. So thanks for getting in the weeds with us there.
Sure thing. Anytime.
Thanks for watching the Heritage Foundation's YouTube channel. With more than 500,000 members, we are the nation's largest conservative research and education institution. We believe the principles and ideas of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing. Please help us further our mission by subscribing to this channel and sharing our videos with your family and friends.